Hello there, it's Janice. Today we have the book, The Wooden Horse. The sun was shining brightly on the island of Ithaca. The king and his young queen were sitting in the fruit trees outside the palace. The small son was playing on the ground beside them. "Oh, I must be the happiest man in the world," said King Odysseus. "I live on the most beautiful island. I have the most beautiful wife." "The second most beautiful," said his queen, smiling. "Are you thinking of Helen?" asked Odysseus. "She's just trouble. You are so much better than her, my love." The queen put a hand on his shoulder. "Oh, I'm not jealous of Helen, not at all. I don't think her beauty makes her happy." "Husband, dear, look there on the sea. Isn't that a ship?" A little later, when the soldiers came up the hill to the palace, Odysseus recognized them. "You've come from King Melaneus, haven't you?" he said. "What is it? Good news or bad?" "It's very bad," they said. "The king needs your help. Queen Helen is missing." "Missing? What do you mean?" "She's just gone. We had some visitors from the city of Troy. Their prince Paris couldn't stop looking at Helen. When the Trojans left, Helen was with them. Melaneus was very angry. He wants to kill Paris." "I can't believe that," said Odysseus. "I'm sorry to hear it, but what do you want me to do?" "Melaneus wants to take an army to Troy and bring Helen back. He's asking all the kings in Greece to help him. You're his closest friend, Odysseus. Come with us." "Melaneus has so many friends," said Odysseus. "Some of them don't have wives and families. Why don't you ask them?" "You're also the cleverest man in Greece. Please, Odysseus, you can come back to Ithaca as soon as Melaneus has Helen again. It won't take long. You'll see. The Trojans won't want a war. They don't want to fight, do they?" The messengers were wrong. Hundreds of ships sailed from Greece to Troy. They brought thousands of brave fighting men. But Troy had an army too, and high walls and strong gates. Again and again the Greeks attacked the city, but the Trojans stayed very safe inside the city walls. The war lasted for 10 long years. Odysseus told Melaneus, "We can't go on anymore. We've lost too many good soldiers. The men are exhausted. They're too tired. They can't go on. All they want to do is go home. I want to go home as well. I miss Ithaca. I miss my wife and my boy. I haven't seen my boy since he was a little baby." "We're not leaving until we have Helen," Melaneus insisted. "You're the clever one, Odysseus. Can't you think of something?" Odysseus was awake and thinking all night. In the morning he had a plan. "We can't just attack the city again," he said. "The walls are too high and the gates are too strong for us. We need to open the gates from the inside." "Open the gates from the inside? How can we do that?" Melaneus asked. "With a trick," answered Odysseus. "A clever trick." A short way from the army camp there was a forest. Odysseus took some of the soldiers there. All day they cut the tall trees and shaped the wood. Then they started building something. At first it looked like a huge farmer's cart, on 4 wooden wheels. But the men were still building and building, higher and higher, 4 huge legs, an enormous body. Ahead? A horse? Asked Menelaus. Odysseus replied, A wooden horse, big enough for me to hide inside with some of your best soldiers. That evening, Menelaus' army got ready to leave. Very early the next morning, the men loaded their boats. Then they burned the rest of the camp. They sailed away, but they didn't sail very far. Near Troy, there was a long, low island. As soon as the ships were on the other side of it, the soldiers made a new camp. They couldn't see the city, so that meant the Trojans couldn't see them. The men rested there, and they waited. A little later, the Trojan guards looked out from the city walls. What's happening? The Greeks have gone. They're not here anymore. Their camp is burning. And what's that in front of the gates? Wait, there's a man beside it, a Greek soldier, and he's holding up his hands. He doesn't want to fight. The guards brought the man inside the gates, and everyone in the city came to watch. Please don't kill me, please don't, the soldier begged. My name is Sinon. I'm a Greek, but I hate the Greeks. I'm glad they've gone. I hate the war, so I ran away from the army. They were going to kill me, but I don't want to die. I don't. But why did they leave so suddenly? They can't win, said Sinon, and they know it. The gods must be angry with them. For 10 years, the Greeks tried to get into the city, but they couldn't. Finally, they have understood. If the gods won't help them, what can they do? What's that thing, that big horse? They made it as a present for the gods, so that they can sail home safely. They hope. But I hope they all die. It's a sign, the people said. We should bring the horse into the city and take it to the temple. The gods will be pleased. Don't do it, don't, the Trojan princess Cassandra said. Something terrible will happen. But did anybody listen to her? No, they never did. The Trojans opened the huge city gates and brought the horse inside. What do you think is going to happen? Do you remember who's in the horse? Who's inside the wooden horse? Everyone in Troy was glad that the war was over. From the oldest to the youngest, they filled the temple with flowers and laughed and danced in the streets. There was food and drink and music and everywhere. Finally, they went to their homes to sleep. They were exhausted, so tired after 10 years of war. Even the guards at the city gates were sleeping. In the middle of the night, Sinon saw lights out at sea. It was a sign that the Greek ships were coming back. The Greek army would soon be ready outside the gates. Sinon went to the wooden horse and opened a secret door in its body. Odysseus climbed out fast. Well done, my friend, he said. 39 soldiers followed him. They had swords in their hands, ready to fight. Very quietly, they went to the gates and opened them. Suddenly, there was noise everywhere as the Greek army rushed into the city. The streets filled with the sounds of shouting and screaming. The Trojans tried to find their swords, but they were half asleep and they weren't even ready to fight. Soon houses were burning, dogs were barking, and frightened children were crying. Nothing could stop the Greek soldiers. They fought all the way through the city, from the walls to the king's palace and the temple. Where's Helen? Where's my wife? roared Melenis. At last they found her, hiding in the temple. Please, please take me home, she said. The Trojans hate me. Only Paris and his brother were kind to me. And now they're dead. This war is all my fault. But I never wanted it. Oh, Melenis, I've been so unhappy. Melenis looked at his wife, and he couldn't be angry with her. You haven't changed, Helen, he said quietly. You're as beautiful as ever. Come with me. It's time for us to all go home. The next day, the Greeks left the ruined city. They were shouting and laughing, glad that the fighting was finally over. They were alive, and they were going home at last after 10 years. Before they sailed away, they loaded their ships with the Trojan treasure. Melenis put his arm around Helen. This is my treasure. And you, Odysseus, soon you will see your wife again, and your son too. Odysseus was exhausted, but he smiled at his friend. Yes, I hope I will. Okay, that's the end of the story, The Wooden Horse. Now I'd like you to go through the activities and finish them, and then we'll go through them together. Alright, let's go through the activities. First, we've got matching. We've got 8 sentences here, and we have to match them for the 4 characters: Odysseus, Helen, Melenis, and Paris. Okay, so sentence A, we have, he's the prince of Troy. Who's that? That's Paris. So I'm just going to write A here. He lives on the island of Ithaca. That's Odysseus. She's married to King Melenis. That's Helen. He asks for Odysseus for help. That's Melenis. He finds Helen hiding in the temple. That's also him. He's the cleverest man in Greece. That's Odysseus. King Melenis wants to kill him. Paris. She's the most beautiful woman in Greece. Helen. Okay, on the left we have a mixed up story. So what you got to do is read the pictures and the stories and to put them in order. Okay. Okay, let's go through the pictures first. Picture A, the Greek army rushed into the city. B, everyone in Troy was glad that the war was over. C, the soldiers built an enormous wooden horse. D, hundreds of ships sailed from Greece to Troy. E, Odysseus thought of a plan. That's F. The Greeks loaded their boats with treasure. G, the Trojans brought the horse into the city. H, some messengers visited King Odysseus. And I, Odysseus climbed out fast. Okay. Some messengers visited King Odysseus first. And then Odysseus thought of a plan. And then hundreds of ships sailed from Greece to Troy. Odysseus thought of a plan. Then they built a horse. And then the soldiers built an enormous wooden horse. And then they brought the horse into the city. And then everyone was celebrating. Was glad that the war was over. And then Odysseus climbed out of the wooden horse. And then opened the gates for the army. And then at last they won and loaded their boats with treasure. Now, then the next activity we have, where are they? Choose one word from the list to finish each sentence. The king, number 1, the king and queen said the fruit trees. They said under the fruit trees. Number 2, there's a man. It, said the god. There's a man beside next to the wooden horse. Number Number 3, the Trojans brought sin in the gate. Inside the gate, didn't they? Number 4, they rested on an island near Troy. The Greek army would soon be ready outside the gates. Last one. Menelaus put his arm around Helen. Right? Okay. Now we have what are they saying? Finish the right word. Choose the right word to finish each sentence. I must be the happiest man in the world with the son and the wife. Right? Number 2. I'm to hear that Helen is missing. I'm so sorry to hear that. We can't go on. The war has been 10 years. The men, they're exhausted. Exhausted means tired. I've thought of a smart trick, safe trick, or clever trick. That's a clever trick. Alright. Last we have which is true. Choose the right sentence for each picture. Now we have picture 1. Cassandra told the Trojans that something terrible would happen. Cassandra told the Trojans to bring the horse into the city. What did Cassandra say? Cassandra said that something terrible would happen, but did they listen to her? No, they didn't. Picture 2. King Menelaus stopped looking at Helen. Paris couldn't stop looking at Helen. That's Paris who couldn't stop looking at her. Number 3. All day, the soldiers cut and shaped the tall trees. All day, the soldiers rested under the tall trees. Did they just rest? No, they worked all day. Number 4. Sinon said that the Greeks wanted to kill him. Sinon said that the horse was full of Greek soldiers. Of course, he didn't say that. He was lying. He said that the Greeks wanted to kill him, but he was part of the army. Alright, that's the end of the wooden horse story. I hope you have enjoyed it. I think that's quite a nice story and a clever trick. Alright, until next time, bye.